Hello, universe. It's been a while since I led with a public service announcement about just the annoyance that this entire enterprise puts any eavesdropper through. And if you're happening to listen to this, well, that would mean you. Number one, speed me up. There's no conversational back and forth here, so really you're just listening to my diatribe. And there is no reason you can't listen to this at least 1.75 speed, if not 2.5, 2.75, whatever your limit is. You might be surprised at how much you can take in at faster speeds. And that's just giving you free time back, which is something that I truly am excited to always provide, is more free time for you. Because none of us have enough of it. And if you're listening to this, well, obviously you should be doing something else while listening to me, like something productive. Yard work comes to mind. Kitchen cleaning always comes to mind. But you know what it is in your life, whatever it is that you're avoiding that you need to be getting done. Well, if you're listening to this, now's a good time to go get that done. Be productive in your life. Do things that are good for you, that make you move forward, that give you the opportunity to think better about yourself. This is a hard life right now for reasons that are even harder to pin down. But most of those are my fault, right? Obviously. So speed me up. At the very minimum, do that. And then as soon as you get bored with me, which should be about 30 minutes ago, well, turn me off. Or listen to the next 30 minutes. But that's on you, because I always think there's something you could be doing with your life better than this. But if this is what you're going to choose to do, well, at least do it at double time so you get some of that time back. Come on now. I'm awful. Haven't you heard? Well, enjoy. Hello, universe. How are you? It is the 3rd of November, and it is 3:33 in the afternoon here at Mountain Standard Time Zone of planet Earth. And that wasn't coordinated. That's just coincidence. Look at that. Anyway, wait, it is the 3rd of November, right? 1, 2, 3, yeah. Well, something tells me maybe I'm not a day late on this, but I am. I'm a week late on the second half. I'm a day late on the first half. What do you know? I have fallen prey to some of my own hubris or overconfidence in my ability to tackle situations and come out unscathed. And cryptic though this is, I will get to it and what I mean by all this, but I've had, November is now 3 days old, and November brings with it my absolute worst karma. It always is the month I most have to get through without causing some sort of combustive, without creating some blow up of my own accord. And that would be the first of it's been 3 Novembers running now that I've essentially decided to find the hardest possible way through the month, and setting off landmines simultaneously in multiple social and professional spectrum. Well, I guess without a job, at least I don't have to worry about the professional part. So let's see if I can keep from blowing up social part. But considering I started with Friday, there's a chance, and I only say there's a chance because it's pretty foggy in my head entirely, but I was lucky enough on Friday. Well, I don't want to, should I tell the whole story now? All right. I made a mistake with mushrooms that I consider a juvenile mistake. Like, this is a mistake I shouldn't have made. I knew I was making it in the moment. I was talking myself out of it pretty successfully until I realized I couldn't talk myself out of it. And then I knew I'd fucked up. But I've been saving roughly 6 gram mushroom dose for a very specific personal quest to try to go find the wisdom of a unique figure in my mushroom hallucinatory lore. And and I never took that opportunity, number one, so that was fuck up number one. But number two, because I was enjoying myself in a social circumstance on Friday in a group environment, I started my ingestion around 7:30, and maybe as late as 8 o'clock had finished it. As much as anything, I didn't want to be up all night, but by the time 8:30, 8:45 came around, I was so captivated by this one other person with whom I was sharing space that I had trouble doing the right thing and getting the fuck out of there. But then when it became uncomfortable for me, because I don't know, at some point I couldn't keep track of all of the just visuals and cues, and I was so trying to concentrate on this one person, but I couldn't even respond to her questions because they were just tracking me in a way that it was bizarrely incapacitating mentally. I was so overwhelmed with other stimuli, especially stimuli of like an uplifting, energetic nature. I was incapable of focusing on the single concentration point that was there to be had, which was this conversation. So once somehow all that deteriorated, and I don't really remember how, that's another problem. I just remember getting up, leaving, and coming home. And when I got home, I was just stunned that I was that I allowed myself to get that high on mushrooms in public. That was irresponsible. And so the person whom, for at least the first 45 minutes to hour and a half, I don't really even know, sort of babysat me through my own elevation. Well, I greatly appreciate your persistence and patience and your kind and generous conversation. You were captivating enough that you kept me out in the arena of the public sphere longer than I ever had the right to be out there. So for putting you through whatever abrupt turn of event sent me home, I apologize. I'm sure it was not tactful, nor in the long run very very friendly. But I apologize for ever making my public escapade something that is infringing on anyone else. But I'm pretty sure I did that Friday night, so I apologize to the universe for my poor behavior, and I'm sure the universe is disappointed in my decision that night. But the rest of it, when I got home, I mean, I could not... Once I had started in a social sphere, I just could not get into a mental grind. Like, I tried so hard to look inward all the rest of the night. I sat in a dark closet, put a blindfold on. I did everything I could to reduce the stimuli to just my head. But I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened earlier in the night. And I specifically couldn't stop thinking about what a doppelganger the person that I met was for my comic book guardian angel. I mean, honestly, it was spooky. And only in the face and hair, but I mean, in the face and hair, it's fucking enough. And it was one of the confusion points, because at one point I started to think, wait, are you? I got confused that maybe she had come in not in disguise, but I was too high on mushrooms to be out, and I was having conundrums that were silly but verifiably real And I still sit here today thinking, how long is this persistent presence going to annoy my existence? And it's not annoy it, but it's exist within it. I don't know. Maybe this is the rest of my life. That seems fair, I guess. I mean, that would at least level the karma. So, whatever this continual non-chapter of active reorientation toward my own feelings of not good enough, well, I don't know. This is way too unthought through to be going through at this moment. But coming off that Friday night experience, even if I couldn't quite journey through a tunnel into the wiser ports, I did do a lot of investigation of just how unfulfilling the world feels right now, how nothing seems to be exceeding expectations, how there's nowhere you look that you think, wow, what an amazing, overachieving sense of greatness that presents. And it wasn't even a doom and gloom feeling, which normally it would be in that frame of mind. It was just more of a persistent recognition of, we've all succumbed to this level of mediocrity. And somehow now we're all okay with it. But all that has to change is for one opportunity to be exceptional, for all of us to see an opportunity to come together for one potential goal of correction toward the better, to jumpstart the momentum to fix all of it. And that's the message that's available. But that message has always been available. The execution of that message is what we were going to get some help on, right? Didn't get much help. All right, I know this has been a blather of nothing of interest. So should we just roll into... Okay, I'm so sorry, Allison, for fucking deleting that episode. But I have overcomplicated shit again. Oh, and I gotta say, one of the things that I find hilarious is how uncomfortable my carrying 3 phones around makes most people, like many people, especially women who I'm having a conversation with that notice I have 3 phones. I think that's an immediate warning signal that you're a creep. But if you have 3 phones and only one's hooked up to a line, and that really is only a line that your mother calls, because who else has my fucking phone number? My point is, I have one live phone, then I have this phone that I'm recording on, Galaxy S7 or 8, I think it's an 8, that has a cracked screen now because I dropped it, but whatever, I have this phone, it's just what I record on. But I carry that one with me as much as anything, because sometimes I just put little vocal notes as to things I want to talk about. And then I have my other phone, which is basically, well, MP3 player, entertainment player, and really, I play pinball on it. Like, it's got all of these, like, 35 pinball tables, and it is entertaining as hell to play pinball. So if I need to waste time, or I'm sitting in line, or I've got to just keep my head down and not pay attention to the world, that's how I do it, by playing pinball. So that's why I carry that one. But I don't carry it all the time, because frankly, 3 phones is a lot to carry, and this is the bigger of the 3. So it gets left behind quite a bit. But when I'm going out into a circumstance in which I might know myself to be having to be patient and to keep my head down, well, then I bring that phone with me. So that's why I carry 3 phones. None of them, only one of them is hooked up to anything that can call or take a text. Like, that's my phone. The other 2 are entertainment devices. But people seem to think that's fucking weird. So explaining that when I go out is something I do frequently. And I had to do it on Friday night. So, now, should we get to this? Yeah. All right. 58. The reason 58 that I fucking lost my sense of humor is how we all generally now default to thinking people are acting in bad faith. And I don't know where this came from, but I believe in a life of creating A's and B's. In other words, we have so much oppositional organization in this country for especially the major issues on which we are a nation. We are divided, reds and blues. We are divided, conservatives and liberals. We are divided, rich and poor. We are divided, southern and northern. We are divided, white and black and yellow and tan. We are divided in every way that they can divide us, because at some point the concept of having a team on which you can depend to be at least aligned to fend yourself off from the others becomes the comfortable position in which to rest, instead of just understanding that it's all of us. And so I just never think anyone's acting in bad faith. I always assume everyone's doing the absolute best they can at that moment in time, no matter what. And so just to watch the world start to think that you should mistrust, not trust, is one of the reasons I lost my sense of humor. And it's if you are so used to being on a team, then you are manifesting opposition just in your own activity. And I don't know how to break this cycle. I don't know how the whole of humanity can be united in some capacity where there's not tribal inclination. But tribal inclination to me is something that's not necessary in a world where abundance and true equanimity exist. But I don't know how close we are to those things, so I get why it's this way. It's just one of the things that causes me to lose my sense of humor. And I don't think Allison had much to say here, other than the fact is that you have to, in this world filled with threats, if you're not assuming anyone can be a threat at any time, then you're going to miss the one that is. So, fuck that. I say, okay, maybe, but I'm not going to act that way. All right, and next 57, I had knowing advantage takers here. And by this, what I mean is, if you see something in the universe where you think, hey, look at this, that's something that nobody sees that I could definitely use to my advantage, and gain leverage in a circumstance in which I can then perhaps get ahead or jump in front of the line, or whatever other moving your life directionally can occur when you take advantage of something. Well, as somebody who thought those advantages existed for those who could find them, and if you found them, leveraging them was your obligation, I now see how wrong that thinking is. That thinking is just, again, cycling energy into the universe that is leveraging positions of I'm better than you when you're not. And nor are you smarter, nor are you just in the right position at the right time to see this is here to be had, and so I'm having it. None of that stuff's right. There are just zero ways that you thinking shortcuts are to your advantage is ever correct. And so when you see something that is an opportunity that is there to be leveraged, well, if it's not a fair playing field on which that opportunity exists, if it's something hidden in the code that you just happen to notice is there to be had, well, those are two different scenarios entirely. So watch how carefully you allow yourself to differentiate the line between a true opportunity versus something that you know you shouldn't have this much leverage in its existence, but since it's here, fuck it, I'm taking it. Those things eventually will cycle back on you, but there's so many of them now in the universe, it's almost as if the default activity as well, but everyone else is taking advantage. So what the fuck's wrong with you, man? Either you're trying as hard as you possibly can, or you're failing to give yourself every chance to win the game. Yeah, well, again, that doesn't lead to winners. that leads to losers. So I will just continue doing what I can to put myself in positions where there are no advantages, where everything is based on equanimity. But that's getting harder and harder. That's why I spend so much time talking to myself into this microphone. All right, 56, look-awares. I don't know that there are too many look-awares in the universe that are below, say, 40. But above 65, there's a shit ton of them. And I feel for these people because what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to change the universe in your 70s? Seriously? Fuck no. Barely get the energy to watch Wheel of Fortune. So if you're going to try to find a way to not see what's going on right now, well then to me, you're the person that makes me lose my sense of humor. Because there's undeniably pathways and avenues to the real truth right now that are just alarming. And I know people shut themselves off as soon as they realize that alarm bells are about to sound. Well, all I can say is you're not helping. The fact that you continue to think there's other things you got to get done in life other than figure out how much chaos is truly going on around you, that's your fault. And I don't think it's funny. Which is why I made number 56 on my shit that makes me feel like I lost my sense of humor. All right, 55 is Danny Casolaro. I think there's a Netflix special about him now, or there has been one about him. So he's gotten a little bit more publicity. His story is just, it's horrific. That power could assert itself so directly and just flagrantly in the face of the public sphere of journalism holding that said power accountable. And he's not even the first. I think you can go back to Dorothy Kilgallen. I don't know that she's the first, but wherever you want to look for suspicious deaths of journalists who had big stories and source material disappearing as they committed suicide, well, Dorothy Kilgallen, Gary Webb, Danny Casolaro, that's a good threesome to start with. And it just makes you realize if this is how committed certain elements are in the game of not being discovered, well, how will we ever really know the truth? I don't think we ever will, but that doesn't mean we should go up. I'm just saying that's how big the fight is against us. And no, of course, nobody wants to be suicided here, right? I mean, I don't. I'm sure you don't. So that's at least two of us. The rest of them, well, they don't want to be suicided either. So don't go investigating stories that could lead to outcomes that reveal that the CIA is doing nefarious stuff, especially in the border of the United States. Stay away from those stories. Right, CIA? Right! Okay. 54. Download our app. Okay. I do not like when all you're trying to get me to do is to download your freaking app. Okay? I'm not going to download your app, Quora, nor am I going to download your app, Reddit, nor am I going to download your app, Kroger, nor am I going to download any app, because I hate apps. So that makes me lose my sense of humor every time I see the goddamn download our app pop up, or button flaring, or whatever. I never will. As a matter of fact, I put this just beneath the persistent advertisements that make me think, well, there's one product I'll never buy again. But download our app, I hate it. All right, that was 54. 53. 53 was all the goofy ones, like canned vegetables, which suck. People who go on vacation and then take long naps. I don't like those people either. Paid advertisements anywhere, on TV, on the net, anywhere. Paid advertisements. Nope, not interested. I hate people who don't get jokes. I hate paper straws. They make life worse. Gratuitous sports injuries. Yes. I don't like when there's such a awful sports injury that they just keep showing it over and over and over and over and over again. Right, Joe Theismann? Yeah, totally, man. Fucking still, my leg fucking hurts. I'll bet it does. Is he still alive? Probably. Isn't everybody still alive? Nobody dies anymore. People just live forever. That's the way it is. They just look the same as Vanna White does for the rest of her life. Back to... Oh, I don't like people who look down on people who cuss, which is getting fewer and fewer, I'll say. There's a lot more filthy-mouthed youngins than there ever have been. But and obvious joke tellers, they annoy me too. So they're on here. Corn and salsa, flutes and rock bands, all that shit. Makes me lose my sense of humor. But those are just goofy ones, so that's why they're on that list. All right, number 52. Blame shifters. I really do not like watching people try to assign blame in situations where shit's gone wrong so that it's untarnishing their own image. When shit's gone wrong, even if you weren't involved, well, you should have been involved. You should have fucking been there to fucking take care of whatever went wrong. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason to get a signee at that point in time. The only thing left to do is to fix the problem and proceed in a manner that does whatever it can to reduce the chance of that problem reoccurring. Everything else is just... And if you feel better because you can watch a situation that's gone wrong and go pin it on them instead of on yourself, what level of reinforcement are you seeking? What internal insecurities are you harboring? Honestly. Fix that. And then, when problems arise the next time, you'll just be in a mode to fix those too. That's why we're solution-oriented around here. Never trying to tell you how to live your life. I'm just trying to tell you that sometimes the way you live your life, you might be your own worst enemy. All right. So, blame shifters. Yeah. They're I'll take all the blame every time. Now can we get on with fixing the problem? Because the real problem, number 51, gaslighting. This is a term that didn't exist in the 20th century as far as I know, but I'm really glad it emerged in the 21st century because boy does it describe so much of what the fuck's going on around here. The bluster and persistent self-righteous nature of those who are candidly doing wrong, it's shocking. And politics is really where this rears its ugly head, but it's starting to occur more and more across education, media, think tanks, you name it. Wherever people are trying to persuade, they're gaslighting. This country is it's lost its connection to any kernel of common decency and truth. We're just a bunch of advantage takers looking out for ourselves. And gaslighting is one indicator of it. But what are you going to do? Get smart about hearing it and knowing when you're seeing it and believing that if you don't think it's most of what you're digesting, then reconsider. Go look again. Because then you'll be at number 50, which is finding factual reality. And, you want to talk about losing your fucking sense of humor? Having to somehow declare that once and for all, yes, factual reality exists. And no, we don't get to all have our own opinions and facts. That's not how it works. There is an uncontested version of what happened. It is this universe that creates those uncontested versions of what happened. Yes, we're the subjective observers, so yes, we're problematic as the dictators of what went down, but collectively we know there is a subjective truth. Or this universe falls apart. There's no more cause and effect. There's no more time linear force forward progression sensation of existence. It's all dependent on factual reality existing in determined, coordinated, truthful presentation according to the laws of physics and all that shit. But not anymore. I mean, some would argue and be convinced that they're right. So, I don't know. How do you crack the veneer of somebody who's arguing with you on facts that just are non-existent, unverifiable, and in the long run, a wild goose chase of unsubstantiated innuendo and rumor. It's just, it's such a convenient and mentally lazy frame of mind in which to exist. So, again, I'm not saying that it's not funny. Whoa! It's not funny in its own way, but it's not funny enough to stay off my list of things that have ruined my sense of humor. All right, 49. The financial shenanigans of Wall Street, things like inflation, the monetary supply, the coordinated service vertical that the Federal Reserve is in our economy. I don't know. There's so much obfuscation and deliberate sleight of hand in our financial system that I don't know if this is the final indicator that it has burst at the seams and is just waiting to explode, or if they're just too creative in their own abilities to reinvent and redistribute those of us who are too tired or too disinterested to figure it all out. Well, we just continue to suffer in a system that pulls from us and extracts from us nothing but attacks on our effort. There is nothing the financial system gives us. It just takes. And as it takes in record form at this point in my life, I just look at it and think, well, that's not funny either. Okay, and 48, I'll admit, is kind of funny, but it's not. That's the point. That's why it's on my list. And that's awkward fist bumps. Especially because white dudes. I mean, what's with white guys and awkward fist bumps? Why are we such pros at this one thing? Why are we so good at looking so clumsy in the face of, hey man, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a bit. Oh yeah, that's your pinky ring. Oh, here, hold on. I was holding out my hand. Oh, I don't know why I had a water balloon, but why'd you bump my fist, man? The point is, I've never really, until I was, at the same location with somebody as a bartender for 15 straight shifts, figured out a fist bump that we both can coordinate. No. Random fist bumps with people? No. There's more than a 50-50 chance that thing's going to look just awful and feel even worse. So that made my list. All right. There's only 2 more to go. Actually, I don't know if we even got to. I think we got to the next 2. Oh, yeah, I know we did, because I remember which one we stopped on. All right. Political parties. Political parties, to me, just don't even make sense. Why do we even have them? Why isn't everybody just running on their own platform of who they are and what they'll do? Why is there coalitions of anything? Why aren't we just elected representatives doing our best to coordinate with each other on the things we can and most agree on, and then hash it out on the things we disagree on, instead of having aligned teams of A versus B on every goddamn issue? Because this country is not about nuance and texture, right? Isn't that the answer? Okay. Unauditable elections. Elections that cannot be audited, right? Michigan. Was it Michigan? I know it was Wisconsin. I know it was Pennsylvania. I know it's been several court-ordered cease and desist. Stop auditing this election, state of Florida. We'll just give George Bush the presidency. As we come up on Tuesday, Election Day, the day on which we will anoint one more leader, and let's see, who do I think is going to win? I'll tell you what, this is such a coin flip to me. I'm just going to say heads, it's Donald Trump, tails, it's Kamala Harris. Ready? Here we go. The official coin flip is tails. Kamala Harris is going to win your election. So, as President Kamala Harris comes to power, there will be no change. There will be no disruption of the atrocity that is our participation in international relations in the Middle East. There will be no cease and desist of the corporate overreach in our politics, our economic interests, our day-to-day living. We will just continue to watch everything get slightly worse repeatedly until 5 years from now we can't even recognize where we used to be compared to where we are. I don't know that that's the kind of thing to look forward to, but if we could audit our elections, if we could actually trust our elections, if we could do anything in this country that was meaningful as a citizen banded together in a way to make change and betterment for all of us, well, I think we'd be doing it. Which leaves you thinking, well, how much more can you take? I don't know. I don't know how much more we can take, because this is why I didn't want to do this by myself. Thinking about all these things makes me just feel like the mountain to climb is almost too high. But the truth is, all you got to do is start thinking more positively about your environment, the things that are around you, your own situation, and the things you can do to make your own life just incrementally better. Every one of us is doing that. The world goes places it's never been. But as we all start looking at each other as the enemy, or we all start thinking, I don't have the patience, the tolerance, the time, the ability to put down my smartphone for 15 minutes to actually do something different. I don't think that we're all necessarily maxing out our skill set in the current incarnation of who we are and what we're up to. I know I'm not. I proved it again to myself on Friday night. But I would just like to, in case, not that there's even a chance of this, but in case somehow all of the delusional memory of where I left everything can be forgiven, well, you know who you are, Miss E. I will just leave it at that. I appreciated your presence. I'm so glad this is over. And, oh, please, Allison, do one more with me. At least one more. Let's do the next one together. Okay, bye.